Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Dan Olson from Natural Innovations. Today we're going to talk about ATV use, land use issues, and how you can get involved in decisions being made and some upcoming meetings on land use and ATVs. And we're going to take a quick break and be back with Dan Olson and Hometown Happenings after this. Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Dan Olson. And Dan, you're working with Natural Innovations, and you'd like to talk a little bit about land use today, and why is it important that people get involved in land use issues?
Right. Natural Innovations, as you recall, is a local not-for-profit organization, and one of our goals is to help raise awareness of environmental issues in Becker County and the area around Detroit Lakes. And every year we like to talk a little bit about land use and land use decisions, how decisions get made regarding how land will be used in this area. And I know a lot of people have an interest in that, and we just want to encourage people who do have an interest in land use and how it's being developed in this area to get interested in what's going on at the city level and what's going on at the county level, because that is where the really key decisions get made regarding how land will be used, whether it be lakeshore property, whether it be areas in the country, you know, having to do with maybe development of an ethanol plant or feedlots and different things like that. And if you have an interest in how land is being designated for use, it's the best place to start is really getting an interest in paying attention to what's being discussed at like county commission meetings and county planning meetings, because that is where those designations get made and what will be allowed and what won't be allowed to be developed in a certain area.
Okay. You know, a lot of people do have opinions about land use issues, and namely one of the big issues coming up, of course, is ATV use,
right,
you know, within Becker County. And I know that there is a meeting, as we speak maybe, going on in the middle of May here at the county courthouse. And people, you know, you say people need to get involved in more of a grassroots effort, you know, from the county meetings, the committee meetings, and you know, one way to find out about those, of course, is to maybe even call your commissioner or call.
Exactly. This is one of those opportunities where there's discussions being held involving the development of trails in Becker County for ATV use. And so it's one of those opportunities, if people have an interest in that topic, to attend this meeting. It's on the 12th of May, and there may be others after that. But it's one of those opportunities, like I said, where it's early on in the process, and if you have an opinion one way or another, that is the place where you can come and get some of your questions answered, perhaps, and to make your opinion known where you stand on the issues. And it's those types of meetings that we really encourage people to get involved in and to show up for those kind of things, even if they maybe don't want to say anything, but they just are interested in the process and are interested in what is being decided. It's a good time to attend one of those meetings and have those questions answered for yourself.
I'm here today with Dan Olson from Natural Innovations. We're talking about land use, some of the issues, and how you can get involved early on in the issue. If you have an issue with an issue, how you can get involved at an early stage before say you hear about, you know, you hear a lot of things getting into the national level even,
right,
and by that time, you know, you still may contact your congressman or senator, but by that time it's a little bit harder, as
exactly,
you had suggested.
Because once those determinations have been made, people still usually need to apply for a permit, for example, to build an operation or something like that. But by the time they're applying for those permits, they generally have all the things lined up that they need to in order to be approved for that permit. And so most state agencies and things will then go in and approve those permits. And we do have public hearings about permits for various operations, and sometimes based on the public input that we receive, different changes can be made to permits at that time, but not significant changes necessarily, or maybe significant changes, but the project itself is not likely going to be stopped at that stage. Once something has been designated an area for a particular type of use, and the people who apply for a permit for that use are likely going to receive that permit as long as they meet the criteria of that permit. So like you say, to really have a bigger impact on the land use, it's best to get involved early on in the process when those designations are first being made.
All right, we're going to take a quick break from Hometown Happenings and be back with more after this. Welcome back to Hometown Happenings. I'm Carol McCarthy here with Dan Olson, and we're talking about land use and how you can get involved in issues. And before the break, we talked about how you get involved early on in the issue. And why don't you give us an example maybe of something that's kind of gone through the process?
Yeah, I guess one example we could talk about is lakeshore development. And various counties have and are still considering updating their shoreland ordinances and shoreland development ordinances. And what happens sometimes is a developer will come in on a particular lake and have a plan for a development on a particular lake. And at that point, other landowners in the area might have some ideas about that or issues with that, and then they try to influence that process at that point where a developer is applying for a permit. And at that stage, they might be a little frustrated in the level of their ability to affect changes to what's going to be taking place. There might be some changes made to the permit based on the input that they provide at that stage, but again, they may be disappointed as to the extent of an influence they may have at that stage. Whereas if early on, when ordinances are being discussed and written and approved and finalized, that is where the biggest impact can be made, because that is what is going to be as you know, the ordinance going forward that the county is going to be using to assess and approve or disapprove of various developments that are coming in. And so that's where public input really makes a big, or can have a potentially much larger impact, is early on when those ordinances and rules and different things are being established for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And you know, you go to the meetings, public hearings and that sort of thing, and that's what they are, the public hearings, and a lot of the times the committee or the commissioners are there to hear your comments, not saying that everything you say is going to be taken and done, but at least they hear what you have to say. And it's frustrating for some people to just sit back and do nothing, you know, and some people might think it's frustrating, but at least you had your say. Right.
And again, it's just one of those things for people who do have an interest in these things. We just want to, as you know, Natural Innovations, we just want to encourage people to pay attention to the schedule that the counties have as far as what is on their agenda for a particular week or a particular month, the kind of issues that they'll be discussing and the decisions that they might be making. And then if they have an interest in those issues, to show up at those meetings. And if nothing else, if they don't have necessarily something to say specifically, again, it's an opportunity to learn what is going to be happening in the county or in the city in terms of land use for a particular issue.
And one of the best ways to find out about these meetings is you can go online. I know that Becker County has a great website, usually lists agendas with the commissioners meeting, committee meetings, or you can call the office. Or I know that there are a number of newspapers in the area that are public, the papers, the official paper of, say, Becker County or Otter Tail County. I mean, you might have to do a little research to find out what that is. But I think the best way to do it is either to call the office, your county office, or you can even contact Natural Innovations, and I'm sure you would be willing to, you know, divulge some information.
Right. But again, I think to just pay attention to those regular schedules that the counties and cities would put out about what they are going to be discussing in the upcoming topics. I know, for example, the issue about the ATV trails has been around for a while now, and they first started promoting or publicizing the fact that we'll be having this issue addressed in May, way back in January. So just pay attention to those kind of things, and if you have an interest, we just really encourage you to show up and either listen and or have your opinions heard.
And Dan, why don't you give us your website at Natural Innovations if people want to learn more about your organization?
Yep, it's naturalinnovations.org. And if you go to that site, you will you see that we've recorded various shows and radio shows that we've done in the past covering some of these different topics and issues. And that's also, if you have an idea for us or would like to maybe contribute your time to some of the things we're doing, that's one way to contact us, is through naturalinnovations.org.
Well, Dan Olson, thank you so much for appearing on Hometown Happenings.
You're welcome.
And for TV3, I'm Carol McCarthy.